Hi, I'm David Manti, and welcome to a new episode of the Today in Manufacturing podcast. With me this week are Jeff Ranke and Anna Wells. We're the editors of Manufacturing.net and Industrial Equipment News, and we each have more than 20 years of experience covering this beautiful industry. Every week, we take the three biggest stories in manufacturing and discuss the implications they have on the sector going forward. Before we get started, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. You could really help us out a lot by leaving the podcast a positive review on Apple Podcast, Spotify, or whatever platform you use. If you want to email the podcast, you can reach any of us at Anna, Jeff, or David at in.com with email the podcast in the subject line. We are also live every Thursday at 2 p.m., so subscribe to us on YouTube at IN Magazine so you can get a notification whenever we go live. Leave a comment. Give us a thumbs up on YouTube. That really helps out a lot. And it's not like you don't hear that at the end of every YouTube video you ever watch. You know, just like, hey, if you could help us out for a second, just a little thumbs up right now really helps us with the algorithm.
Yeah.
But like, we're the only ones that say that, so that's why it happens. You know, we get so many of them.
There you go.
Yep, exactly. How you doing, Anna?
Great. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. You know, like we were discussing the current like unbreathable air that we have right now. That's not ideal, but it hasn't seeped into the studio, despite how close it is to the hallway, where it clearly has penetrated, and it even feels like someone had a campfire in the hallway.
It does, and it smells like it too.
It does. It is. I mean, I guess we're having fun with it in the office as we're tracking how poor the air quality is getting throughout the day. But I mean, maybe, you know, it'll be just that much better on the other side.
We're going to turn the corner during this podcast, I hope.
It's going to be nice. Jeff, it's always good to go outside after work when the air quality warning has like a gas mask on the icon. Makes me feel good about it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You're in the minority there.
I think so. I do think so. How you been?
Good. How much caffeine have you had coming into this?
I haven't had a lot of
speaking very rapidly.
Fair question.
Yeah, I not a lot of caffeine. I think it's a tired thing, though. I slept like garbage last night, and so I'm just like, got to go for it, so I stay awake.
You're at about 15.
Yeah.
Bring it down to 10.
I don't even know what 10 feels like anymore, man. I live there. No.
Okay, that's a different podcast.
No, that's all right. I'm going to flip this desk over, and then we can keep going.
Okay.
Maybe I need water.
Giddy up.
Maybe I have had a lot of caffeine. I should probably keep better track of that.
This podcast was a mistake.
Yeah, we'll see. Everyone's going down with me. All right. This week's episode is brought to you by Fortinet and the new point of view. Modern manufacturing needs a clearer view of cyber risk. Modern manufacturing runs on connectivity, but that same connectivity means a cyber incident rarely stays maintained to one system or site. It can move across IT, OT, suppliers, and operational processes, putting physical production at risk. This Fortinet POV breaks down the four barriers: competency, capability, capacity, and complexity. Hey, they all start with C. Keeping manufacturing from truly understanding their risk, and shows why operational visibility, not just investment, is the key to turning awareness into action. With manufacturing representing the world's most targeted industry for cyber attacks and only 14% of organizations reporting full OT visibility, downloading this point of view will empower your organization with a clearer view of your environment and help you prioritize, protect, and build resilience on the plant floor. So, download Modern Manufacturing Needs a Clearer View of Cyber Risk. Right now, there is a link in the body copy, and there is a link in the live chat. That was better, right, Jeff? Bringing it down a little bit?
Good work, David.
See?
Attaboy.
That's good. I just need the reminder. You know, just like, hey.
Hey.
Get down.
Okay.
Down.
Yeah. Stop running so hot.
Yeah. All right. Our first story this week. Buttermaker smooths production gaps with flex work option that lets workers pick hours. In early 2022, coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic, Arden Hills, Minnesota-based maker of dairy products and animal feeds, Land O'Lakes, bore witness to changing employee priorities. Most notably, workers wanted more flexibility. The company rolled out the Flex Work program for staffers working 16 to 30 hours per week. Employees set the hours they can work, and Land O'Lakes figures out how that fits into their production schedule. The pilot project debuted at the Land O'Lakes facility in St. Joseph, Missouri, and the response was, quote, overwhelming. The butter maker had more than 100 applicants in the first few days. Well, current positions available in this program include flex production operator and maintenance roles in Missouri and flex housekeeper and warehouse operator positions in Wisconsin. Land O'Lakes said views and applications for flex roles are about 25% higher than those for traditional roles, and turnover is much lower, about 12 points lower than recently hired full-time talent. The company has some 60 manufacturing facilities in the United States, but plans to roll this initiative out to all 140 of its domestic locations. Anna, if flex work worked for Land O'Lakes, could it for other manufacturers experiencing similar staffing challenges?
Yes, I think yes.
Yeah.
I thought this story was awesome. I really enjoyed it. I think, a plan like this one would be very challenging even a decade or two ago. But it's maybe more doable now for businesses with the way technology has evolved to make things like dynamic scheduling accessible to more businesses. There was a time when flexible work was considered largely off the table in a production environment, but in this case, it's been completely attainable. And I think if you look at it a little bit more closely, it's accomplishing two things, right? It gives the workers this feeling of flexibility by addressing their unique needs. Perhaps they need to do school pickup, so they need to be done by 3, or they can do a few 10s, but they don't want to work 5 days a week, whatever. But whatever it is, it's enabling them to kind of be present for these other obligations, huge quality of life shift for these folks. At the same time, the company can build a schedule around the shifts that they've committed to. And I think the perception around flexible work is that you never know when anyone's going to be working. And it's this Wild West approach that would never work because you have a production line to keep operational. I get that. But in this case, they have hours set. They just choose when those hours are going to be achieved, and it is still routine. Yeah. So I think it's brilliant. You can see the results. A huge influx in applicants for these positions, as you said. More importantly, the company also said that they were able to convert a lot, or at least some of these folks to full-time employees, because I think sometimes all you need is to get somebody in the door almost in like a trial capacity. Yeah. Maybe somebody who's thinking like, hey, I can't commit to a full-time job, so I am not going to bother with Land O'Lakes. Get them in the door. They're lured in by the prospect of this flex schedule, and maybe they don't need it forever. Maybe they only need it for a short term, and then they realize then they can move on to full time. But by the time you do that, you have these full time employees that are already fully trained up. They're reliable. I mean, it's just like working out great, I think, for the company as well. So, again, I love that technology has enabled dynamic scheduling to kind of function in this way, making this possible in a production environment. And I truly believe this could solve some workforce issues for some other businesses, manufacturers notably.
Yeah, I feel like this is the evolution of the temp agency, right? Is that you become a flex work agency. So, Jeff, the switch to flex work, this was part of an internal effort to move beyond old beliefs that these types of ideas, quote, can't happen in manufacturing environments. Do you think manufacturers are evolving beyond what has always been the tried and true?
Well, you have to. I mean, you have to evolve or it's not going to work, especially, NAM still is talking about over 500,000 unfilled manufacturing jobs. Yeah. So you've also got different social norms that are evolving as well that allow for this type of flex schedule to work. Now, at first when I saw this, I was very skeptical. I wasn't sure how this was actually going to work because in a lot of other environments or a lot of other companies where we've seen them try to implement this, it was offering it kind of across the board. And that's not going to work. Yeah. Because there's going to be people who take advantage of it, people who are not reliable, you can't count on for it. And but in this instance, as I understand it, these are flex positions. Okay. Yes. You're hired into this. Correct. It's not something where somebody who is a full-time employee can switch to this unless they want a total different sort of type of job setup.
Yeah, and it's there's specific roles that will cater to this. Like if you go to the same spot on their website, it's like, there's an equine lab technician, and it's like, no, we need you these specific days.
Yeah, so I think the way they've rolled it out is a reason why it's been successful. Yeah. Whereas in other situations, making it try to work for everyone is not going to work. Yeah. So I think that's important. I think they're also taking advantage of the fact that Food production, I think, lends itself well to this in that there's not a time of day things need to happen. It needs to constantly be moving and going. So when you can plug people in to keep the lines running, that helps with margins, that helps with production and output, all of the things that we talk about with food manufacturing that can be very difficult. So it makes a lot of sense there. Also, just some of the other sort of the target demographics that they have for this I thought were really interesting. Talking about some of the folks who maybe have retired and now want to get back into the workforce for a number of different reasons. I was looking at a study from ARP. They're saying that like 20% of Americans over 65 are either looking for jobs or are still working. So they want to do something. Almost 10% unretire. They get bored, essentially. I think also, just looking back when I was in college, you know, when you look at a lot of the jobs that you'd have part-time, whether it was me at Shopko or folks bartending or whatever the case was, I know you did that, Anna, and David, you've had every job.
He's had every job.
Yeah. Going into manufacturing, if you could work there for 15, 20 hours, you're going to get paid probably $5 to $8 more an hour than you would at some of those other jobs. So a lot of different benefits there that could impact things socially, especially when you look at, you know, going back again to college students. If you're trying to take out student loans right now, it's a different ball game. Okay. So even the impact it could potentially have there, if more manufacturers were able to do this, and there's more in these different demographic groups that could take advantage of it, it could actually have a pretty big impact in a lot of different ways. So it's really cool to see it going here, and it'd be fun to see how many other different places it could work as well.
Imagine that. Like if you could say, hey, Monday through Friday, I can work 5 to 10. I mean, it's a more reliable position. You know what you're going to be doing. You know, I think that would be very attractive to a lot of college students.
Oh, it'd be huge. And you could even go beyond that. I mean, in college, you don't care, but we don't have these sleep issues you were talking about before. Like, you can go in from 8 to midnight. It's like, of course.
I had different sleep issues back then. But I mean, even if you think about your class schedule, you know, I would have a class in the morning and a class in the evening. I could have potentially worked a shift during the day.
Right.
Anna, do you think this works or is even considered if there isn't a pandemic? I mean, Land O'Lakes was likely all essential workers, so they likely had to get creative with scheduling.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it did force this issue to the forefront for a lot of companies because people were like, hey, look, like this is the reality of life. It applies to all of us. Like, what are we going to do about it? Companies kind of were forced to think on their feet there and start offering some opportunities so they could retain some folks. And I think a lot of the residual impact of that has still impacted the job market, of course. And then you do have all these other, I guess the term white collar jobs, office jobs, administrative jobs that are still offering hybrid or remote positions. And I think those two do have an edge in some cases when you're trying to recruit folks because it is more flexible and it can align more with your hours that kind of fit in with your lifestyle. So if manufacturing can kind of wedge itself into that, I do think that the pandemic was probably maybe a watershed there, but.
Well, and I feel like we've had this conversation before where we've talked about the benefits of hybrid work. And I believe, you know, as a panel, we've said like, man, that would be great for manufacturing, but we just don't see how it could happen because it's such a traditional 9 to 5, 40-hour weeks, mandatory overtime, you know, like, and this is, I think, not only this, but I also found other examples of similar initiatives that worked. And the other thing about Land O'Lakes is that they do a great job right on their website for the flex work saying, hey, we know you're a college student with a weird schedule. We know that you're a parent with kids with schedules and likely grandparents that need help as well. We know that you're a retiree that only wants to work. They do a really good job of saying like, we know who this is for and we're here to work with you. Other companies that are doing similar things. So GE Appliances in Georgia, they have employees build their own part-time schedule by picking 4-hour shifts. And it's really cool. So this plant has 900 workers who sign up for shifts via an app. Like not only do the workers make their own schedules, deciding how many 4-hour shifts to pick up each week, but they choose what kind of work they want to do. So there are assembly line jobs, which are more fast paced and physically demanding. And then there's the QC or quality control areas that are less taxing. They actually show this article from NPR, I believe, gave different examples. You know, one was a woman who worked in quality control. She's a recent retiree. She said everything you said, Jeff. She's like, I want to work 2 days
Yeah.
I want to work at a quality control table. I don't want to work on the line. And this makes it possible and relatively easy. Now, at GE Appliances, this is all managed by a third party. It's a company called My Work Choice, and they have 450 flex workers per week doing, on average, 24 hours each. They call it the Uber of manufacturing. And I was just like, oh my goodness, that's gold. Like, because that's truly what it is. That's why everybody loves Uber, right? They pick the hours they want to drive. And then when they're on, they can determine whether or not they take the job. Also, how they pick the shifts. That was what I was curious about, right? And I'm sure there are ones that are more of a premium, but workers get rated on their reliability in this app. And then those with the highest ratings get to pick the shifts first.
Oh, okay.
Makes a lot of sense because then you're also rewarding good work. Stanley Black & Decker, Georgia Pacific also have similar initiatives. And I want to continue to sort of track this as an emerging trend because, and it's going to come up a couple of times in this podcast and probably every episode afterwards. It's not just the U.S., but the entire world has a labor problem. And we need to get creative in terms of how we're going to fix it. All right. Our next most popular story this week. Volkswagen plans to kill off half of its models. Last Friday, VW reported some pretty bleak sales numbers. It wasn't great news, but it put a little context around why just the day before, the German automaker shook the industry with plans to cut its number of models, especially in China, in half, nearly half. We'll see. VW Group sales fell 8.6% in the second quarter to just under 2.1 million vehicles. Sales in China plummeted by more than a third. The move to cut half the lineup is part of what Volkswagen is calling, quote, fundamental realignment. CEO Oliver Bloom wants to make VW faster and more competitive through less complexity, focused technologies, better alignment across regional markets, and reduction of overcapacities. VW deliveries dropped 14%, Audi declined 8%, and Porsche fell 18%. But Lamborghini, Skoda, and the trucks unit did have upticks in business. VW pointed many fingers, but the big three might sound familiar to you. Geopolitical tensions, rising costs mainly through tariffs, and increasing regulatory requirements amid more competition. Anna, is this an adjustment to a changing marketplace or hashtag recession indicator?
Hashtag, I don't know. But I do think that there's a lot going on here. Mm-hmm. A Car Scoops report suggested that VW could cut as many as 10 models, including some of its very well-known ones like the Jetta.
Really? Wow. The Jetta's on the block?
That's what they say. So they cited a report by the German newspaper Bild, who obviously covers Volkswagen extensively because that's where they're located. But that report put into stark relief just how bad Jetta fared in the United States in Q2, where it sold 16,000 vehicles compared to 75,000 Honda Civics. Toyota was the top selling brand in the U.S. in Q2 with the Camry and the Corolla up 19 and 17% respectively. Sedans are selling. The Jetta is not selling.
Yeah.
Car Scoops went on to add that while crossovers are hot, the VW Taos is not. There's also speculation that these cuts could reach Audi, including two of its crossover coupes, the Q5 Sportback and the Q6 e-tron Sportback. Mm-hmm. But also, some Porsche models could be on the chopping block. They are speculated to be the gas-powered Cayenne Coupe, ICE versions of the 718 Boxster and Cayman that aren't even made yet, and the Taycan. So now VW is not commenting on these reports. They're saying they were not going to confirm any of these details. But Car Scoop says that Bild's preliminary list, again, speculation guided by data, would save VW $7.4 billion by 2031. Whoa. So, yes, that's a huge sum. I do think there has to be more than just cutting models go into this plan here. I can appreciate the comment in this article on our site by Bernstein SG, an analyst, which I think applies to all global automakers. They said that they were skeptical of VW's contention that they would focus on technology to kind of bridge this gap.
Okay.
And that's fair to me because, the Chinese automakers are going to eat the lunch of VW and so many other automakers if they don't start getting serious about not just technology, but price. Mm-hmm. And that market, you mentioned it dropped by 1/3 for Volkswagen. There is a ton of competition there, a ton.
Yeah.
So if Volkswagen is too expensive in China, if the tech is not measuring up to the competition, and they lose market share there, they're not making up for it in North America. That's not happening right now. So they do have to make some serious decisions here. And if cutting models to shore up some cash does that, that's great. But I don't think that's the last thing that they have to do.
So what's left? SUVs?
Yeah, they have the Atlas, the Tiguan.
Okay.
They've got Porsche and Audi is included in this. So they do have a lot of other models.
Okay.
But yeah, trying to figure out what is like the lowest performing, lowest margin, I guess.
Yeah. Work from the bottom up. Jeff, were you surprised to hear the Jetta on that list?
Yeah, I guess I can't see that one going away.
Yeah.
But they're stuck. They really are. I don't know exactly what's going to happen here because, like Anna said, their vehicles, they were really counting on all these ID 3, 4, 5, 7 and the Buzz.
Oh, yeah.
Basically, these all-electric offerings to really sort of bring them into this new era. And they're not selling because China, the biggest market, they're twice as much. It's not even close from a price perspective. So that's going to be harsh. Plus, I think there is sort of in China a desire to buy the homegrown brands, BYD and some of the others. So they're stuck there. They're having a hard time because where they perform well is in the third largest market. They do very well in Europe, like Skoda does extremely well there, but it doesn't scale. I mean, that market is 1/3 the size of China, and it's smaller than the U.S. as well. So when you look at where they're struggling and where they put all their apples, if you will, in these EV models that they're not going to sell in the U.S. because some of them aren't even offered here, number one. But then also there's so much more competition now in the U.S. for EVs, and the U.S. isn't crazy about EVs right now to begin with. So it's not scaling for them the way they need to. So they are going to have to make some dramatic cuts here when you look at what they're going to do. And a lot of those cuts, realistically, if you look at it from a pure sales perspective, should be their electric vehicles, which is what they've put billions of dollars into.
Yeah.
So where do you go? What do you cut? And that's why it seems ridiculous to me to talk about cutting the Jetta. But if that's not selling either, and it's a high cost center, and again, you've invested so much in all these electric vehicles, where do you go?
Well, and it's their only sedan, really, right? Yeah. In the U.S. market, like they already cut the Passat. The Jetta is the lowest cost vehicle that they sell, so it's probably the tightest margin for them. Right. And if it's not a volume play, what are they doing there? Maybe losing money.
Yeah, outside really of their heavy-duty trucks and Skoda in Europe, they don't have a lot of winners here. So in terms of deciding what to cut,
like everything's on the table.
Kind of it seems crazy, but they have to look at absolutely everything.
Well, and was it Jim Farley that said he even drove a BYD and that's what he preferred? Like when you have the heads of other automakers saying like, it is hard to beat a BYD, it's not encouraging. More not encouraging news. I don't know if you guys saw this, but on Monday, Reuters reported that VW's CEO sent out an internal memo. Not sure if you read about that one, but he said that they might need to cut 50,000 jobs to keep up with rivals in an increasingly fierce car market.
It's a nice memo. Might.
Yeah. Well, and so people have kind of been talking about this, but it was like the first time to confirm that the company could be cutting up to 100,000 positions. And it's kind of been whispered in the market, but this is the first evidence of it being real. VW already agreed to 50,000 job cuts, including at Porsche and Audi. But the company has more costs to cut. So the CEO mentioned a, quote, theoretical deduction in this memo that includes another 50,000 jobs worldwide. In the memo, he said, quote, we are currently assessing across all brands, companies, and regions how many adjustments are actually necessary and feasible. And honestly, with that list that you shared from Bill, Anna, everything's on the table.
Well, the one thing I was going to bring up too, and this one really surprised me when you look at the sales problem that VW is having. J.D. Power conducted a U.S. vehicle dependability study to determine which car brands have the most problems per 100 vehicles.
Yeah.
VW is number one on the list.
Didn't they used to be the most reliable?
Well, that's Yeah.
Sorry.
That's what.
Sorry, that's.
Hey,
let me just ruin.
Just take it. Just take it. You're good.
Ruin your point. You're
good. You're good. Yes, David. I would agree with you.
Yes,
that was a selling point.
Yes, I apologize for that. Just jumping all over that. I mean, and so they not only have a problem with reliability in sales, but they also have a problem internally because workers are angry because of all this speculation, and these workers are demanding like, yo, what's going on with the restructuring plans? And then it's like the memo comes out and it's like, well, could be another 50,000, probably not helping that at all.
What is the value of that? We might.
Yeah. I mean,
just a heads up.
Yeah. Just so, like when a manager comes to you and they're just like, hey, just so you know, we might have to lose a few people. So think of the low performers in your unit. Just like, hey, so we might have to lose like another 50,000. So if you could just give a list of everyone that works for you, that'd be great.
Yep.
The company could also apparently lose 4 of its global plants within the next 10 years. So the one thing about this report in Reuters that I thought was interesting is we recently talked about, was it Ford and GM being approached about doing defense work? Mm-hmm. Well, they thought about potentially repurposing these underutilized locations, factories, for defense industry work. So we could see a shift there.
Where? Don't they only have one factory in the U.S.?
No, these were global factories.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, these were like, it would be for a European defense work.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I had the list of the 4 locations, and I was just like, those are not places.
No one's going to ask me a follow-up on
people
this.
People are not going to know
so
that.
I'm going to just click out of there.
You know what? Just around the edges. I should have known better.
Got to bring your receipts, my friend.
I don't even have a link. I don't even have a link to the receipt. Receipts to come. Follow me on no social media because I won't post it there. All right. Well, our most popular story this week, Harley Davidson's credit rating downgraded to junk status by the S&P. Last month, Harley Davidson announced plans to hit the bricks and get back to bricks and reshore production. The motorcycle maker is bringing machining, powertrain assembly, painting, and final vehicle assembly work back to facilities in Pennsylvania and Wisconsin. And everybody was pretty pumped about it. Even the Trump administration called it a, quote, American manufacturing win, ! Well, S&P Global isn't sold on the idea or that it will turn things around for the beleaguered bike maker. The shift will introduce more affordable models to attract new riders and bring back the Sportster. However, S&P's analysts think it could take several years for Harley to stabilize. As a result, the S&P lowered the motorcycle maker's credit rating from BBB- to BB+, which is actually a downgrade from a medium risk investment opportunity to high risk junk status. While the company aims to reduce costs by $150 million, which should bolster next year's operating income, S&P said that this year's operating income is under pressure due to ongoing restructuring expenses. For example, in the first quarter, the company incurred $15 million in charges related to strategic shifts. That's headcount reductions, that's employee termination benefits. The company also anticipates tariff costs, primarily on steel and aluminum, up to $90 million. Management expects to experience peak tariff effect in 2026 as recent changes to trade policies and new exemptions for certain parts could alleviate these pressures beyond this year. Anna, simply, can Harley turn it around?
I don't know.
If you know that answer, I think there's a place you could make a lot of money with it.
Yeah, exactly.
info@harley.com.
It's interesting when you look at this story because we see so often this exact same formula applied to businesses that are struggling. They hire a new CEO who has all these big ideas to dramatically revise how the business goes to market. And then it's this race against the clock to actually execute that plan. And this, of course, is especially true for publicly traded companies whose shareholders may not have the patience for a turnaround scenario of this magnitude. Mm-hmm. But that's what it requires. And I guess my question is, what else is Harley supposed to do except pick a plan and stick to it, and try to make this happen. I think it's just kind of a painful component of that turnaround scenario that you see often, of course, because they don't know, the analysts, they don't know how to estimate the health of the market in 5 years in an absolute way. They don't know if Harley is going to succeed in wooing these younger buyers at these lower price points that is like the crux of this plan. Mm-hmm. They don't know if that's going to work. There are just so many unknowns. But I think everyone can agree that without some major changes, this longstanding leader in the motorcycle industry is not going to be there for long. Now, to add to that, can you add U.S. labor and lower prices at the same time? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's helpful in this situation. And again, I don't know if we talk a lot about like Harley's brand and its brand being associated with like an older generation. Mm-hmm. So I don't think pricing alone solves that problem.
Yeah.
And so I think there has to be more to it there. I don't know if there's more marketing going on behind the scenes that we're just not hearing about.
Yeah.
But again, a lot of things need to line up, but it's on a longer timeline. So of course there is uncertainty in the near term. That's not to say that this is going to fail. It's saying that this is super muddy right now.
Well, and I think the alternative to that was Livewire, and when that just went so bad, like that's when they really started to regret the failure of Livewire, as well as cutting the lower cost options. And I mean, now that we're talking about it, I mean, maybe VW could kind of look at what happened with Harley and the Sportster, and maybe while it's considering things with the Jetta, sometimes it's good to have something like that on the in the lineup card as well. I don't know. Jeff, I was curious, are you rooting for Harley? Because no, I feel like I sometimes feel like
says
no,
Jeff.
I sometimes feel like this desire for Harley to succeed is like more nostalgic rather than looking at the reality of a shrinking and changing motorcycle market.
I hate Harley Davidson.
I knew it.
Oh, man.
I knew it. Tricked you into saying it.
So mad.
I knew it.
No, I am not anti-Harley Davidson. And of course, we're rooting for them. But there's also just so many realities that they're facing.
Yeah.
So many issues. And there's actually a great article talking specifically about the Harley brand on brandingstrategyinsider.com. I'm not a frequent visitor to this site. I'm not going to lie. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But this one it's really good because it goes through sort of the lineage of the CEOs for Harley Davidson and how they've all come in and basically said the same thing.
Yeah.
Over the last 30 years, there's been a line of development. Well, we need to get back to what we do, but we got to evolve and we got to do different things. Well, let's get back to what we're doing. No, we've got to come up with something different. This Sportster situation, I understand why they're doing it, but I don't think this helps them.
No.
When they rolled out the Livewire, that should not have been a Harley Davidson branded product.
Yeah.
Okay. They need to start looking outside of their traditional ways of going to market, because even with these new models, it's still the same market.
Yeah.
They're just trying to just force a new product onto a different audience that has already said no thanks.
That's fair.
The motorcycle market is shrinking. Mm-hmm. Overall, fewer people are riding and buying motorcycles. So Harley needs to adjust here. I think it is honestly time where they need to look at diversifying. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, you put Harley Davidson on a side-by-side, people are going to buy that. Yeah. I think there's an opportunity there.
Oh, yeah.
Even watercraft.
Becoming more like a Polaris.
Better.
Yeah, well, yeah,
Polaris
that's what I mean.
Polaris has issues from a quality perspective.
Yeah.
People are, that brand has some problems. With Harley Davidson, when you look at the issues that they have, it's not about the quality of the product. It's so expensive.
It's demand.
It's so big.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want that kind of bike. It's not about this bike doesn't run right. Mm-hmm. It's everything else. So use that brand, leverage that brand, and maybe diversify into other product types.
Yeah.
They've never done that. Everybody they compete against does.
Yeah.
Everybody they compete against has different offerings. It's not just motorcycles.
Yeah.
Now, that is an opportunity, but in today's day and age, when you're looking at trying to take advantage of supply chains and production synergies and all these other things that these other folks can leverage in keeping their prices down and, getting more products out there under different brand names, Harley's never, ever done that.
Yeah.
That is an opportunity, in my opinion. Or, if you want to get real extreme, sell it. Merge with somebody.
Yeah.
There are other different outdoor recreational companies, brands that you maybe have an opportunity to work with. And again, take advantage of some of those production efficiencies that you cannot leverage right now.
Yeah.
That's where I think Harley needs to go, because you can keep recycling what they have been doing for the last 30 years. It's not getting them anywhere. Their sales are down by almost half in the last 20 years.
Well, I guess that's what I was getting at, is that I feel like people want People want Harley to be around, but no one wants to buy what they're selling. Or fewer and fewer. And I will say, at least in defense of the Sportster idea, at least a lot of dealers were saying, like, people are still asking for it. And when it went away, it's not like they bought something else.
Here's the thing. And you could take this a couple different ways. Are they asking for the Sportster, or are they asking for a lower priced option?
Yeah.
Those are two different things, in my opinion.
Right.
That's true. Mm-hmm. That's true. So S&P remains, quote, cautious when it comes to the long-term stability of U.S. motorcycle sales growth in general, saying that it could take Harley several years to regain lost market share. Didn't seem overly optimistic, a lot of it. Since 2019, Harley's market share in the United States declined to 34.5% in 2025. That's from nearly 50%, 49.1% as measured by total motorcycle registrations. And Jeff, I think, and Anna, you touched on this too, like from a marketing perspective, you're right. Now it's just different price points, but are they just going to be marketed the same way with the lone rider out on the freeway with the leather jacket and the big emblem on the back, and it's in a sepia tone, and it's all about, being a lone wolf? Or are they going to try appealing to a different sensibility? Maybe trying to appeal to somebody like, hey, you know what? This is actually a safe, lower cost option for daily commuting. I don't know. Like, is that something people are willing to buy into?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a big question. I'm curious to know too because Harley has not had a lower price option for so long, and the economy is what it is now. I feel like most people who have motorcycles, that's not their only vehicle, and maybe the privilege of having this like secondary item is just, that's lost in the economy today.
That's
like
true.
you can't have a car and a motorcycle. You got to choose a car.
Yeah. I mean, maybe that's the play. Just like, well, we know that you'd like to have two cars for your family, but that's not doable right now. How about a car and a motorcycle?
I mean,
Just
if it's too expensive to have both of those things, then what are you going to choose? It's not a motorcycle.
Yeah.
So, I don't know what if the economy improves, does that calculus change? Maybe.
I don't know.
I just don't feel great about that economy right now.
Well, no, and either does S&P. Doesn't feel good about it either. They say it could get worse. Their rating, anyways, could get worse if the new strategy is unsuccessful and retail sales fail to recover and further restructuring is necessary. It could also get bad if Harley changes its financial policies of maintaining very low leverage and strong liquidity. I think that was one thing that I didn't mention in this report is that, for how things are going, Harley still has a lot of cash on hand, and they're still like in a good low leverage situation. But on the other side, they could get better if retail sales obviously improve faster than expected, regaining market share, regaining a foothold in different geographic markets, especially in the United States.
See, they bring up all that stuff about market share. That's great if the market is stable or growing.
Yeah.
It's not.
Well,
there are fewer people buying bikes.
Yeah. They need more of the fewer people.
Talk about great market share. They own 70% of the heavy bike market.
Yeah.
Nobody's buying heavy bikes.
Well, that's why they also say things could improve if the overall health of the motorcycle industry supports long-term retail sales growth. So we just need motorcycles to be cooler again. I guess that they need what's going to do what like put motorcycles over in like the 70s. What was that movie?
Easy Rider.
Easy Rider. We need a new Easy Rider.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds like, yeah.
And then it should be fine.
Just like a viral moment for motorcycles.
Yeah. Okay,
figure it out.
Yeah. Get on it, motorcycle people. All right. Before we jump into, in case you missed it, we have another story. We have another word from our sponsor. This week's episode is brought to you by Fortinet and the new point of view. Modern manufacturing needs a clearer view of cyber risk. Modern manufacturing runs on connectivity, but that same connectivity means a cyber incident rarely stays contained to one system or site. It can move across IT, OT, suppliers, and operational processes, putting physical production at risk. This Fortinet point of view, it's a paper, breaks down the 4 barriers: competency, capability, capacity, and complexity, keeping manufacturers from truly understanding their risk, and it shows why operational visibility, not just investment, is the key to turning awareness into action. With manufacturing representing the world's most targeted industry for cyber attacks, and only 14% of organization reporting full OT visibility, downloading this POV is going to empower your organization with a clearer view of your environment and help you prioritize, protect, and build resilience on the plant floor. So download Modern Manufacturing Needs a Clearer View of Cyber Risk. Link to it in the live chat and the body copy. All right. In case you missed it, the stories that maybe weren't as popular on the site, but could make a big impact on the industry going forward. Anna, what is your in case you missed it this week?
I picked a story about a Toyota-backed robotics startup that is planning to take on hard-to-automate tasks in factories. It's called Walden Robotics. It's building general-purpose robots that they say continuously learn and improve while performing real work. They just launched out of stealth with $300 million in funding. A big part of that is from Toyota. And so what they're doing now is they're deploying these robots into real production environments in manufacturing and logistics. They're doing work side by side with people from day one, according to this release. And they say that the bots enable skilled team members to delegate, difficult to automate tasks so they can focus on the problem-solving judgment and dedication to craft that make their work more gratifying and impactful, which I think is like the silver bullet for automation, AI, robotics. They all say that, right? Like, we're going to make your job more fulfilling so you can focus on value-added activity and not this mundane stuff. But the mundane stuff is typically easy to automate, but it's not all easy to automate. And I think that's where this like niche is. So they say that the product from Walden builds on a decade of foundational AI and robotics research, including diffusion policy and large behavior models, the frontier model class that powers the robotics and lets them quickly learn new tasks and continuously improve through real-world practice. So, of course, AI is at the root of this. No surprise there. But anyway, the company launched out of Toyota's Research Institute in January of 2026, so very recently, and it says that it began working with customers across multiple industries immediately. Since February, Walden's general-purpose robots have been doing useful work in production at a Toyota plant in North America, moving from first pilot to real work in under 2 months.
Man.
That's self-reported, but that's very compelling if true.
Yeah.
And Toyota says they have very high expectations for this investment, adding that Walden's uniqueness is its ability to deliver robots that provide value from day one in real-world work environments. Definitely a compelling case for a lot of businesses if this were to work. That said, I think on the glass half empty side, there's also a lot of pressure on manufacturers right now to invest in technology, and there's a lot of stuff out there. And so the folks that are going to be early adopters of this are probably the ones that are already like neck deep in everything else. And I know that there's some issue right now with how are businesses managing their budgets in order to optimize some of the evolving technology that's on the market now, and AI is sort of falling in some cracks for some companies who are like, or other software. I mean, IBM had a terrible week this week, and that kind of spoke to what the market is like right now. Some companies are spending so much on AI, they're not spending on like cloud computing tools and just more back to the basics type stuff. Anyway, my point is it's impacting other tech companies in a negative way because manufacturers can't do it all at once. So it will be interesting to see. It's a cool technology. I thought the article was interesting. It will be interesting to see how it fits in. Yeah.
Well, and talk about a perfect fit. Walden Robotics sounds like a perfect fit for Toyota, right? It's how BMW and Agility are working together, right? Like there are some of these ventures right now or acquisitions that just make sense, and they're finding real world use cases on the floor, you know? And I think it'll be great for some of these tier one automakers to more or less figure out what's going to work for maybe the small and more mid-sized manufacturers before they have to make that heavy investment.
For sure. And I think what's missing here, and that we will never get this information, is like, what do the people on the plant floor think about this? Do they really think that it's as intuitive as the companies are saying? Is it really helping, to the degree to which that is being purported? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, that is definitely kind of juxtaposed to the experience I had at Automate, where a lot of these physical AI demonstrations were not working, maybe there's still some room to grow.
Well, and you hear that with a lot of tech. Like a company might say like, oh, we implemented a new ERP and it was very successful. And then if you talk to the people on the shop floor, they're like, we actually hate it and we do everything we can to work around it.
Yeah.
And they're not really using the tools to their full capacity because they don't like them. That happens a lot with a lot of technologies in manufacturing. So,
well, and I know that we've talked about it before, but that Toyota Research Institute, always keeping an eye on what's going on there. They were one of the first adopters of using AI to speed product development, the iterative process. And I thought some of that work was incredible, and that's what a lot of people are doing already. Jeff, when you saw the story about Toyota and Walden, what are your, do you have any apprehensions as to how many applications are really working right now?
No, I mean, it's interesting, and I would echo your sentiments on Toyota really being at the forefront of a lot of these different technologies. They are not afraid to dip their toe in almost anything. As far as trying to implement it and work out the kinks and be part of that thing that leads to the thing type of process.
Yeah.
What I wish we would see more of this, and I don't know what the solution is here, because if you're Walden or any robotics or automation manufacturer, you want to get into the larger enterprise. You want to see where there's the most opportunity to scale up your offerings and sell more of it. That makes all the sense in the world. When you look at this from a bigger picture perspective, and we're all here advocating U.S. manufacturing, we want it to continue to thrive and be viable, centuries from now. What we need is for more of these types of pilot programs to take place, like you kind of alluded to, at the medium-sized manufacturer, because that's where we need to figure out solutions for, not just from an application perspective, but from a cost perspective and from an implementation perspective, to not have it be, when you're looking at a facility like Toyota's running, to shut down a line, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
But it's not going to shut the business down.
Yeah.
If you look at a more typical manufacturer who is in that mid-sized tier, the implementation of this technology is hard on so many levels, because you are shutting things down to see if it can work, if it will work, how to make it work, all of those things. So I would love to see that more. I know it's difficult. I don't have the solution for it, because I don't blame Weldon or any other automation robotics manufacturer for targeting the big guys first.
Yeah.
I wish we could start at the middle and kind of scale both directions, because that's what's really going to keep our small and medium-sized manufacturers more competitive on a global scale, keep more manufacturing here.
Yeah. And I got to say, the industrial design of this robot strong Herbie vibes, right? Strong, Fantastic Four Herbie vibes. And to that, I think I understand that this is a promo video that they put out in terms of how Walden robots are being used, but you see they're really short clips, right? Like the gripper gripping the tool in the bin, the robot lifting the bin maybe a millimeter, and it's just, I want to see this thing performing one task in its entirety, not sped up.
You think they have something to hide?
I think, it was more a cinematic portrayal of what's going on.
Maybe, yeah.
But
dramatic.
Just having been at Automate, and it's just like, that robot's going to build that box, and then it's going to put that part in that box. Oh, well, hold on a second. We got to start it over again, because it sometimes doesn't put the box together. And then it goes to put the box together, and it puts the part in, and it falls out of the bottom of the box. And they're like, well, sometimes. And it's just, I want to see it in its entirety working. But talk about another segment for Toyota to possibly leverage. If they could get this to work, and then they could sell this robotics technology to other companies, I don't know. Let's talk about diversifying. So in case you missed it, kind of piggybacks yours, Anna, because today, Fujitsu and leading robotics companies all announced this plan to use NVIDIA tech in physical AI. And that's what we're talking about, kind of autonomous applications in real world environments. So Japan has a labor problem, and a new brain trust is going to try and solve it with physical AI. Robots doing this work independently. The new initiative was announced this morning by NVIDIA's Jensen Huang, Fujitsu's chief executive Takahito Takeda, and the CEOs of Fanuc, Yaskawa Electric, and Kawasaki Heavy Industries. So all pretty big heavy hitters in the industry. This is the best of Japan's manufacturing best, and they kind of need robots to fix Japan's acute labor shortage. Japan is among the most rapidly aging societies in the developed world, and they're looking for these smart robots that could do work that is not being replaced and help care for elderly people living alone. NVIDIA's chief believes physical AI is a good fit for Japan because of the country's manufacturing quality. Now, this is all according to a piece in the AP. He said, quote, Japan's excellence is a philosophy, a way of life. Made in Japan means the highest quality, the highest precision. Japan sets the standard for the state of the art in modern manufacturing. Now, I chose this story because we're talking about a lot of things that if this could work in Japan, we could easily see coming to the U.S. and globally. I don't know if you had a chance to check out this story. I know, and it came out this morning, but I was just like, oh, okay, Fujitsu and NVIDIA, that makes sense. And then I saw Fanuc, Yaskawa, and Kawasaki, and I'm like, oh, okay, these guys are going all in to try and make this happen and happen now.
Yeah. I mean, I think that it's like, from our standpoint here in North America, the U.S. is well on its way to having this exact same problem.
Yeah.
So for Japan to kind of figure it out first, it should only help us in the end, right? Because I know that often we have problems in business and industry and in manufacturing in particular that we need to solve right now. Mm-hmm. And no one has started.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, with birth rates declining, with an existing labor shortage, all these things, reshoring, we also have a labor problem. And it's brewing and getting worse and worse and could get much worse over time.
Yeah. And the only thing that is seemingly changing is just the words we use to describe how bad it is. You know, like we need to see real change. I mean, I know there have been real movements like MicroWorks getting more people involved in the industry, but it's still comparatively like a drop in the bucket. I mean, one thing, Jeff, is that these companies did not give a specific time frame, but the first phase of this collaboration is scheduled to come out later this year. We still don't know what it's going to look like. We don't know if it's going to be a joint venture. We don't know if it's going to be just a joint effort, but we know that they all recognize they got a real problem, and so they're putting their best guys on it. Best people on it.
Sure. I mean, I think it's cool. There's just so many of these announcements talking about AI and new implementations and applications. It's another one.
Yeah.
To me, I mean, it's cool to see all of these different groups that are very heavily vested in manufacturing and robotics to come together. That's always cool. That's always going to help, hopefully, the process. There's not too many cooks in the kitchen, but we'll see.
Yeah.
I still have a very much a wait and see. And I think we need to not change, but maybe at least take a different angle on some of these job openings, these labor shortages that we have. Yes, it's an issue. Okay. Yeah. It's also an opportunity. Mm-hmm. So in addressing, trying to come up with all of these AI-based or robotics or automation type solutions, let's not lose sight of the fact that we've got a lot of people that could use these jobs too.
True.
So there's meshing of them. Okay. I'm not saying one or the other. I think we can bring them together. That's the only thing that I sometimes pump the brakes on when I see some of these types of announcements is I've still got a lot of folks out there who would like to do these jobs too. Yeah. So let's just figure out a way to, again, bring them both together.
We just got to get them.
I know. It's and we talk about innovative ways to try and get them. But I guess one of the things that also stood out to this story was it was a recognition of a problem. It was like, this is a reality and we have to deal with it now. And I feel like because they were in a similar issue that we are in right now, where it's just like, things could get bad if we don't change them, and we should, right? Everyone work together. Jeff, what's your final, or in case you missed it this week?
So grabbed a story. Ben Munson put this one together talking about Sony. Let me bring it up here. Sony is retraining factory workers after scrapping PlayStation discs. As somebody who actually remembers the first generation PlayStation, this one kind of hit home. So Sony they're not going to do discs anymore. It's all over the air, basically, software downloads of the games, so no more physical discs, which is another story because a lot of folks don't like that.
Yeah.
But this is kind of interesting because this is a factory outside of Salzburg, Austria. They are making like 600,000 of these gaming discs every day. Well, that's going to go away.
Yeah.
And what's really cool is they're going to retrain these folks, Sony is, so they're going to be transitioning to making optical micro lenses, which a lot of different applications, the most prominent of which is like your smartphone camera.
Okay.
So no loss of jobs, which I think this story overall just has an interesting sort of juxtaposition of we're getting rid of this physical media. We've replaced it again with just the download. You can write to your console. But we're still able to preserve these jobs with a different type of technology. So sort of what you were just talking about in terms of we've got a problem, with labor force right now. And we've also got this new technology that we can bring in. Which one do we sort of champion?
Yeah.
Well, here is an option, in a way that they've been able to sort of compromise and complement both parts of this dynamic. So I just thought it was kind of a cool story in terms of how phasing out one, I don't know if you want to call it discs technology, but phasing that out, but replacing it with something else, preserving these jobs, keeping these folks sort of in this plant, this facility, and everything it contributes to in working order. Thought it was kind of cool. You'd like to see more of it. It's not always an option.
No, yeah.
But it was kind of cool to see that it was here, and you have to feel like this was planned in a way. There's a lot of foresight here in terms of this was going to happen. What do we do? Here's another option.
Well, and a company like Sony that is diversified in so many different areas and markets, they can make a change like this. I feel like we recently went through where a lot of these conglomerates started shedding different segments, right? Kind of getting lean and mean and focusing. And something like this isn't in the cards for them, where if their product stops having demand, it's just over. So I think this is a really cool story. And it also, not to get too into it, but I mean, there are a lot of people angry that PlayStation is not making discs anymore because there is something to be said about paying for something and having a tangible, having a thing that you bought.
So did you have a gaming station when you were in college?
I did, yeah.
Okay. How many times did you think you took were they all discs? Because we just had the Sony.
Yeah.
Like they were so taking that like out of some sort of liquid the next day.
Oh yeah.
Trying to like dry them off and make them work. So like avoiding that situation. That's why I'm like, no discs. That sounds great. Because there was definitely a lot of Miller High Life drenched discs that we tried to still play with the next day.
It's actually funny that you bring that up because I did not. I am crazy about that. I was in college. I was the guy that's like, guys, back into the case. And they're just like, what does it matter? Like Tiger Woods golf will still work. And I'm like, it might not. And it's like our every evening. And same thing and now I'm going through the same thing with kids and DVDs. And I understand that like we're probably the last house in the neighborhood that has DVDs, but I think it kind of helps teach the kids that like, hey, if you do not take care of this, we can't watch this movie anymore. And I know that it bugs Carrie so much because she's definitely like take it out of the DVD player and then just like set it out, but face up, so it's not going to get scratched. I'm just like, I have like two things, and this is one of those things.
I actually like that as far as teaching the kids. That's a good call, man.
Yeah, it's just like if this gets scratched, we don't know what happens to Winnie the Pooh at the end. And then when we get one from the library and it starts skipping, I'm like, what happened? Someone didn't take care of this. What did you think about this story that Ben put together about, it's kind of a feel-good story where these workers are being upskilled?
It's a feel-good story on one hand, but if you read all the way to the end, like
no one wants to read at the end.
They interview a CEO of a retailer called P&P who said that physical games support an entire industry that an all-digital future quietly erases. Retailers, distributors, manufacturers, warehousing and logistics, the pre-owned and trade-in market, and the collector and preservation community, she said. So there's like a petition going around. As you mentioned, there's a lot of anger about this. But a petition, I think, from these business partners in the supply chain also, and saying like, hey, what about us? I know that that's not always going to be incorporated into a business decision like this, but I will say that some markets, I don't know if it's this one, some markets there is room for both, even as technology advances. And I'll give you an example right now. Like the landline phone is kind of like coming back within our circle.
Yeah. Really.
We have a a landline type product that we got, and like every like kids' parents that we, in our circle, everyone's getting their own landline, because then the kids can call each other and talk and make plans and whatever, but it takes the pressure off of getting these kind of younger kids the smartphones,
yeah,
which is everybody's priority, is to keep them off social media and all that stuff. So so it's crazy how much this has sort of caught fire in our circle.
Yeah.
And we still, of course, have smartphones as adults, but it's just this sort of additional item that there's a market for as well. Mm-hmm. So you do wonder if, like, for the collector community, as she mentions here, or the people who just really, really want a physical copy of something, mm-hmm. can they not do like small batch some of that? Maybe it's sold at a premium price. I don't know.
Yeah.
But could these two things be both there together?
I mean, that raises a really good point. I like to collect games from old gaming systems, and you don't need to, because you can get all of those games digitally. But if you play any of those games digitally or on an emulator, they are not the same. It is just not the same. And there's a little bit of lag. It's and because you have that muscle memory, and you're like, that bike should have jumped. That bike should have jumped. That Battletoad shouldn't have slid. And it's very frustrating. So being from that collector community, it'll be interesting to see what they collect, or if they collect anything at all. Or yeah. I think the idea is that some of these games just continue to live on and evolve and be multi-generational. I don't know. I'm going to be like the last person to die on the like physical media hill, but I'm a huge proponent of it.
Yeah, I kind of go back and forth. Some things, yes. Other things, not as passionate about it, I guess.
No, like you don't need a copy of everything. But there are some movies where like I want to know that at any time I can watch it, and I don't have to worry about what streaming services I'm subscribed to.
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm.
All right, well, let's jump into our final thoughts before we get out of here this week. Anna, what's your final thought?
Well, today has been kind of a wreck of a day. It's been a weird week. It's been super hot here. I'm sure for a lot of you, it's been the same under this heat dome. Mm-hmm. And then now we have this wildfire smoke situation. Yeah. So tonight we're just going to be stuck inside again. I feel bad for my kids, but I really feel bad for my dog, because I cannot explain this to him.
Yeah.
And he does not understand why we can't go on a walk, or why he can't chase whatever he sees out the window in the backyard. So giving out some extra treats tonight, popsicles for the kids, probably like a chew stick for the dog. If anyone wants to pop by, I'm giving out treats. That's
very nice.
That's my goal.
Yeah.
Just keep everybody happy with some treats.
Anna's address will be posted in the comment section.
That's right.
You're going to dox me on
Anna's getting doxed, right? It's just like, hey, it's incredibly hot out there, but don't worry, because you can't go outside and beat the heat in any way, because it's unbreathable.
The pool is closed. Everything's closed. You can't do any of that.
The pool's like closed? You can't even just be like, hey, spend more time underwater than above water.
Well, the city pool is closed.
I don't
today.
think they'd want to advocate that, David. No.
I mean, you'd have to massage.
That's a slippery slope.
You'd have to massage the messaging.
Yeah.
Just like, grow gills. My final thought this week is actually was going to be my final thought last week, but I was so gassed from being on the road. When we had our week off, we went to the Northwoods, our cabin, and we were with a bunch of family, and we got to hang out for a day as well, and our families. And it was great to recharge, get out on the lake, just have a fire, and spend a lot of quality time with family. It's just every time we do it, it's reassuring, and it's great for the soul. It's just good for the soul. The other is that while producer Eric and I had a recent road trip to California, and I was going to start it last week, and I was just like, you know what, we went on the road and it's great. So if we can come to your facility, let us know. But if we get invited to your facility, the one thing I will make sure that we never do is producer Eric and I will never rent an EV ever again. And I understand that this is like a hot take about EVs, but I rented an EV. When we're at the counter, I was like, are we going to need to worry about charging it at all? And he asked me where we're going. I'm like, we're going to Ontario, California. And he's like, shouldn't have to worry about it at all. He's like, and he was very laissez-faire. He's just like, you know what? If you can charge it, charge it. If you can't charge it, that's fine. Maybe we'll charge it, but we probably won't. And Eric and I get in the EV. It was a Genesis. We're all like, ooh, this is very nice. And look at how it takes off. Like, there were so many things to like. And then all of a sudden, we take it to Ontario, and then we take it back to Pasadena. And on the way to Pasadena, I'm like, it says that there are only like 53 miles left. And he's like, that seems low. I'm like, yeah, that seems low. And so we just saw how many miles it took to get to Pasadena. Only took 5 miles off the charge to get 30. And so I was like, oh man, this regenerative braking is fantastic. Well, it took us about 25 miles to get in the other direction. So we were having some real range anxiety. We're on the California freeway late at night, and we're trying to find a charging station. And I also felt like if there was any place in the United States where I will feel the most comfortable trying an EV for the first time, California, right? So first of all, if you go to budget rental and you rent an EV, make sure it's fully charged. They say it's going to be 80% charged. No, that is not the case. And trying to find a charging station was very difficult. Producer Eric's looking on his phone for charging stations, and then he's like, got one. Whew, no, actually, they're both out of service there. We were in Pasadena. We went to charge it. All they had were Tesla chargers, and it didn't have the converter to charge the Genesis. But again, who cares? Because we got more than enough charge to do everything that we wanted to. And as we're going back to our place in Ontario, and we're just like, all of a sudden these warnings start coming up, like charge immediately, 6% charge remaining. And like anything that you've had that was battery powered, right? What happens when you hit 5%? Like it kind of just shuts off sometimes. Like you don't really have that 5% in your cell phone. So we were able to find one place to charge it, a Nissan dealership that was closed on, it had like a list of charging stations. Because when it sends the warning, it's just like, hey, here's a list of anywhere you can go. We go to this Nissan dealership. They're closed. We just plug it in. Don't really think anything of it. There's nothing to pay or whatever. And it's not a fast charger. We're there for an hour, recharge maybe 3%. And as we were leaving, we were pretty sure we were about to just get kicked out. I call budget, and they're just like, oh, sorry about that. But luckily, the one place that has the most EVs is in Ontario. So go there and just exchange it. And I was just so livid. We like go to the Ontario airport. They have two. You could get a Mach-E or you could get a Ford Lightning. And I was like, oh, what a great opportunity to try the Lightning. And Eric can attest to this, but the guys behind the counter are just like, you want the Lightning? It's just like, what does that mean? Do I not want the Lightning? He's like, no. You want the Lightning? You get the Lightning. He wants the truck. They kept talking to Joe. He wants the truck. And it was like all this confusion because they're trying to swap it out for us. And also, caveat, if you have an EV, you can't swap it for a gas-powered car. That's just not an option. And I'm like, hey, I'm not feeling too confident in the technology right now. So they give us a Lightning, 70% charge. Not 80. But it also has something enabled called one pedal drive. Are you familiar with what that is, Jeff?
No.
It is. So you hit the gas.
I am.
Anna's familiar. You hit the gas, and when you take your foot off the gas, it like slams on the brakes to like regenerate for regenerative braking. So you can't take your foot off the gas. And I didn't know how to, it was like you had to go into the display to take this feature off. And Eric and I, were already more exhausted than I am now, talking even faster than I am now, and just mostly laughing at how ridiculous the situation is and that we're going to die in this Lightning. But I just have to say that, as Anna kind of told me while we were still on the road, like not the best first EV experience. And while I was a little interested in that Slate EV truck, a little bit lower on the priority list, Jeff. Like, and also budget rental.
I think that is the core problem here, is that you were given an electric vehicle that had no charge. But for this incredibly challenging situation they put us in, Anna, what do you think they offered? I don't know. I feel like they should have given you that for free.
That is a normal thought. But he's like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to give you $50. I'm just like, what? I thought I was going to be stranded on the California highway and you give me $50. And he's like he's doing me a favor, Jeff.
When you went back to the car rental place, why didn't you just return that and get a new vehicle altogether, like a whole new rental situation?
Oh, well, I guess I could have. But they made it seem like just, oh, no, we'll just exchange it. And the biggest thing was we were going to be close. And so we just really made sure that 80% was in the car.
I just went to get another EV, but that's just me.
No, that's a good call. But it was also 10:30 at night. And so we had already been dealing with this for like 3 hours. And then we're waiting in line at the rental place. And we're like second or third in line. And it took us 45 minutes to get to the desk.
Yeah.
And it's just like, so that didn't even come up. I'm just like, we got to get a car and we got to get out of here. But man, but I'm sure the next one will be better.
I'm tired just hearing your story.
Yeah. I mean, that's a terrible story.
Well, no, and like
you can just stop there.
Yeah, it is.
Also, you just figure that like there would be any place to plug it in, but our hotel made us sound crazy when they're like, no, we don't have a place you can charge that. And we're like, well, where can you? I don't know. Maybe the mall that's 2 miles away. I'm just like, I didn't know that this was a weird request. So anyway, not as many EV chargers in California as I thought. Jeff, sorry, that was a very long-winded final thought. And you can understand why I didn't have the gas for that last week. But what do you have for us this week?
Well, I'll just keep it short and sweet. My wife and I started taking golfing lessons together,
Nice.
which is really cool that we could actually do this together. And it feels good because maybe like 1 out of 5 swings, the ball actually goes straight now.
Nice.
Maybe 1 out of 5.
Good
I mean,
job,
I
Jeff.
might give myself a little too much credit, but
Yeah.
no, it's been fun. It's kind of cool that we could do that together too.
What was the best fix? What was the one thing where you're just like, oh, I never knew that's...
Well, you've seen me play softball. Everything goes to third.
Yeah.
So it was fixing that.
Oh, okay.
And basically he's like, hey, dummy, why don't you not do this with your hands?
Yeah, you don't want to be a pull hitter in golf.
Yeah.
No, that's fair.
So it was great.
Oh, very good. Well, that's, I mean, don't get much better. I don't want you to beat me.
Don't worry. There's no worries there.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds good. And, in case like I didn't wrap it up well enough, like don't use budget rental or EVs when you're on the road. All right. Well, before we get out of here, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. You can email the podcast, Anna, Jeff, or David at IEN.com with email the podcast in the subject line. Subscribe to us on YouTube at IEN Magazine. Join us every Thursday when we go live. And give us a positive review on Apple, Spotify, wherever you find the podcast. Also, a little bit of housekeeping. Producer Eric is on the road next week, so we may not have an episode. We're trying to have maybe an audio-only version of the podcast, but we'll see. We're working on it. So stay tuned. For Jeff Ranke and Anna Wells, I'm David Manti. This is the Today in Manufacturing podcast, and we will see you next week.